We're live. Okay. Getting closer to the end. It'll take like 2 more streams to beat, but we'll probably do the review tonight. So it's like 4 more levels to go.
Jack, Val, I've received a go from the office. They've assessed the situation, and they need you to take out the main compound.
I think there are 2 sites we need to worry about. An outpost and the main compound itself. If we want to make sure we take both out, we're gonna need to get the nuke.
The nuke? Are you crazy?
Oh, relax. It's got a very small yield. Just enough to destroy the facility without too much collateral damage. Besides, we'll be out of range and upwind by the time it goes off.
She's very eager to start nuking things. Alright, let me just make sure everything's good to go. Getting things. Okay. I think we're good to go. Okay. Hey, Dragoon.
I spotted a small camp nearby. Looks like the perfect place to borrow some transportation.
Alright, we'll do the review soon. We'll play a little bit, and then we'll do the review. We'll get to a point where I feel it's a good time to do it.
We've got company.
Got some help this time, so she's gonna help us kill things. This is a good weapon. Large capacity.
Hang on. We've got someone right on our tail. They're right on top of us.
Where?
Over there! Careful, Jack.
Got him. Gotta let that guy come out. Because they can shoot through the buildings, building walls. Okay. Not bad, not bad. Turn off that damn alarm. How do we turn it off? Here we go. Where'd he go? There he is. Okay, we're maxed out on all this stuff. Alright, there's a sniper rifle here. I would like to get it, but these are all really good weapons, except for this one. This is not really that useful. Alright, you know what? We'll toss that weapon. No, 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 no. Not this weapon. Okay, plenty of ammo. That'll help out. There's probably some more D-bags around. Just gotta... Oh, that's a machete. Okay, I think we gotta hijack that vehicle. Dragoon, remind me to talk about vehicles in this game, if I forget. In case I forget. Definitely want to talk about the vehicles. They're actually not bad in this game. You don't get to use them that much, but they're alright. I just wish it was from a first-person perspective. You know, I really should make notes about what I want to talk about beforehand, but these days I just been, you know, been doing the streams impromptu, you know? Impromptu streams, so not much preparation involved. Here's a vehicle.
Let's go.
The vehicle physics are not bad at all. Okay, so she's gonna drive. Okay,
I'll
that's
drive.
actually kind of
You
cool.
handle the gun.
I'm on it.
Let's go.
We've got company. We can't go through that. I'll find another route.
Killed those D-bags. Oh, helicopter. This is pretty cool. This is different. A little change of pace. I like that. Also, remind me to talk about
Behind you.
like kind of the lack of biomes in the overworld. We'll mention that. It's not really that big of a deal and I can give it a pass. Because it is an early open world game. But yeah, remind me to talk about the lack of biomes.
We're blocked off. Get
Yeah, lack of biomes in the overworld, in the open world, and how the indoor environments are.
Let's go.
Just remind me to talk about the indoor environments.
I'll drive. You handle the gun.
I'm on it.
Yeah, like basically what I'll say is that it's not really that big of a deal, but it is
We can't go through that.
it is
I'll find another route.
well, I wouldn't say it has nice indoor environments. They're just okay. They're not horrible. They're not as bad as the ones in Halo. Halo had horrible indoor environments. We'll just say that Far Cry has better indoor environments than Halo, but that's not saying much. And overall, the indoor environments in this game are pretty bland and lifeless. Best parts of the game are obviously the outdoors. And even though there's a lack of biomes, it still looks good.
We're blocked off.
Also, remind me to talk about the checkpoint system.
Let's go.
We'll talk about how the checkpoint system, like, it makes the game more
I'll
difficult
drive. You handle the gun.
I'm on it.
by not allowing you to save whenever you want.
We've
Like,
got
in a
company.
sense, I like it because it does make the game more challenging, but it also makes it longer and unnecessarily frustrating too.
We can't go through that. I'll find another route.
But overall, I'm okay with the decision not to have saves. Yeah, and, like, the main issue with the checkpoint system is that it was really inconsistent. Sometimes you would get checkpoints often, and then other times the checkpoints were few and far between.
I'll drive. You handle the gun.
I'm on it.
We've got company.
Yeah, sometimes they would kick you back a long way. Like, it would have been nice if they gave you the checkpoint if you killed, like, all the enemies in an area, because it takes a long time to do it. Oh yeah, we also gotta mention the stealth system. Remind me of that, Dragoon. We gotta mention how stealth in this game doesn't really work. Like, they give you the option to do it stealthy, but there's no reward for doing it, and it's really hard to do it. So much to the point of where it's not worth doing. I mean, there's cover to take, but yeah, it doesn't really work. Also remind me that crouch walking is too slow. It's too slow to crouch walk. In fact, we might even do the review soon. Once I organize all my thoughts, we'll get all the thoughts organized. This is actually not a bad time to do it. Yeah, crouch walking is too slow, and that's part of what inhibits stealth from being an option. What else do we want to talk about?
We can't go through that gate. I'll find another route.
We'll mention kind of the lack of weapon variety. The gunplay is really solid, but the weapons are kind of just generic. Nothing too special, but, you know, they get the job done. We'll just say lack of weapon variety. And we definitely need to mention that the mutants are by far the, like... We'll say that the mutants are just not a good enemy. Yeah, weapons are kind of generic, but they sound good. Most of them sound good, and they're meaty, and I like the gunplay. We'll talk about the graphics. Yeah, mutants are not good enemies. We'll talk about the graphics. We'll say that the graphics are great environments, but the mutant models are really cheesy and ugly. Yeah, sometimes the clipping is weird. That was like an odd thing. Sometimes you can't shoot through foliage. Also mention how the foliage doesn't bend when you move through it. Mention that. Damn it. Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, even though this is an early 2000s game, well, let's say mid-2000s. It is a mid-2000s game. It's not unprecedented. Even in the late 2000s, oh, excuse me, late 90s. Hitman, I think that might have been early 2000s or late 90s. That had foliage that would bend when you move through it, so it was not unprecedented. And since there's so much foliage here, it would have been just an extra touch to make the game feel more convincing and visceral. Oh yeah, we also gotta mention the story and how the voice acting is really bad, but I still like it. The story is just kind of there, we'll just say, like, it's a whatever kind of story, but I like the voice acting even though it's bad. We'll say something like that. Wow, these things kick my ass. We're organizing all of our thoughts here. Yeah, story kind of bare bones.
I'll drive. You handle the gun.
What else are we gonna say?
We've got company.
I think that pretty much covers it. Can you think of anything else we need to talk about?
We can't go through that. I'll find another route.
We talked about the vehicles, the weapons. Take a lot of hits. Oh yeah, there was one more thing. Oh yeah, I like we'll mention how the game's not obtuse. Like, there's never any point where I had to use a walkthrough. So that's always a good thing. Game was never obtuse. I never got stuck.
I'll drive. You handle the gun.
I'm on it.
And that ties into the. It's not a truly non-linear game, but it's more open than most other FPS games at the time, and there was more than one way to approach a situation, even though it wasn't non-linear. It was still open enough, and there was some exploration, and some of that exploration could be rewarded.
Let's go.
I'll drive. You handle the gun.
I'm on it.
We've got company.
Should kill those guys first of all. Dragoon, did you hear that last thing I said? We gotta mention how the game is not obtuse.
I'll find another route.
Let's go.
Come on, let's get going.
I'll drive.
What's she
you
doing?
handle the gun.
I'm on it.
We've got company.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll mention how it's pretty easy to navigate, not obtuse.
We can't go through that door. I'll find another
It's still
route.
linear, but open enough that you can, there's more than one way to tackle an obstacle, and it does have some exploration, and there is a little bit of reward for exploring. We'll also mention that the game's a little bit long, a little bit too long. It doesn't overstay its welcome too much, but I can see people giving up on this game just because it is a little samey. We'll mention that a little bit. We'll just mention the game's a little bit too long, that's all. Yeah. I think that's pretty much everything, right? I don't think we need to mention anything else, do we? Can you think of anything else we need to talk about?
Let's go.
I'll drive. You handle the gun.
I'm on it.
We've got company. We can't go
How's the
through that
volume
door.
balance? Do we need to turn down the volume? You know what, maybe we should turn down the volume before we do the review. Yeah, we can talk a little bit about the ammo. That didn't really, I never really had too many ammo issues. Just in the last game, there was some issue with that. But, I mean, that's part of the challenge too. It's a very challenging FPS game, even on normal. So, if you're looking for a really challenging FPS game, this is the one for you. Alright, I'm gonna turn down the volume a little bit. Just remind me after we're done with the review to turn it back up. We'll just turn it down for now.
Let's go.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it down on my end too.
I'll drive. You handle the gun.
I'm on it.
Alright,
We've got
let's
company.
do a little review. Okay. Alright, so this is Far Cry.
I'll find another route.
Far Cry 1. This is the game that started the whole Far Cry series. I think this game's great. I think it's a great FPS game. So, Far Cry 1 came out in 2004, and around 2004, there were, I want to say, there were 3 major FPS games at the time, right? There was Far Cry, there was Half-Life 2, and Doom 3. And honestly, out of those big 3 FPS games, I think this is the best one out of all of them.
Let's go.
What I like about it so much is
Handle the gun.
I'm on it.
the gunplay, and the open world and the graphics. You know, unlike Doom 3, which just had really nice graphics, but the gunplay was really bad, or Half-Life 2, which had really obtuse and boring puzzles and crappy platforming segments, this game has none of that garbage. It puts the focus on the action where it belongs. It is an action FPS game. And it is the progenitor for the modern open world FPS game. So, we talked a little bit about the game structure before. So the game is still linear. It's not a non-linear game where you can get out and you can do whatever you want in any order you want. No. There is a clear progression of doing certain things before other things. But it has an open-ended approach to it. So you have these wide open areas, and even though it is linear, you can approach a given situation in a number of different ways. You can explore, and you are rewarded a little bit for exploring, not too much. I'll get into that a little bit later. But really, where this game shines is just its open-ish world. So you get like this nice, beautiful outdoor area that's lush and filled with vegetation and rolling hills and mountains, and it's just so beautiful to look at. And even though it is it's not a true open world game, and even though it's a very old game, over 10 years old now, I think it still holds up, at least in terms of its large open world.
Once inside, I should be able to hack their security grids and infiltrate the main camp and grab the nuke.
Whoa, I'm
So
not touching a nuke. Not even a little tiny
now
No,
we
but
talked a
that's
little
the
bit
job.
about
I'm qualified
the
for
environments, right? So this game is kind of split up into two sections, right? You get this large open world to explore, right? And then you have a lot of indoor environments. The indoor environments are just okay. They're not terrible, but at the same time, they're nothing special either. They're not as bad as Halo. In fact, Halo is the game I would compare this game to the most, because it's the most similar to this game. But I think this game is so much better than that game. And while the indoor environments in Halo were really bland and repetitive, the indoor environments in this game are better, but they're still nothing special. They're very bland looking still, just not as bland. The outdoor environments are really where it shines. Now, I did mention that there is a lack of biomes while I was playing this game. It takes place on an island, and as you can see, it's a tropical island. And this level in particular, I mean, it's a little bit different than the other levels, and that it's covered in fog, but it's still the same kind of biome. You got a tropical rainforest kind of deal, and it's very beautiful. But that's really the only biome you get. You get changes in time of day. You might get some more fog, like you do in this level, but that's about it. But since it looks so good, and since there's so much to explore, you don't really mind. See, like right here, we gotta head to that. You get a radar in the bottom left. It tells you to head to the spot, that little dot there. But you don't have to go there right away. You can explore and look around, and you are rewarded for it. So the weapon system is you can hold 4 weapons, and the weapons are okay. Like I said, the gunplay is really solid. Shooting things and killing them, and the ragdoll physics for the enemies is really good. The ragdolls are great, and this came out in 2004, so it was even more impressive back then. However, the weapons themselves are pretty bland. I mean, they're nothing too special. But they get the job done. I don't really expect the weapons to be too flashy like they are in Doom. You get here's an example of the M4, which is what I use the most. You get this automatic shotgun, which is alright. Sniper. And this is a machine gun, light machine gun. So weapons like that. But you find yourself using, kind of the same weapons over and over again. But you get 4 slots to play around with, so you can carry some more exotic weapons, like the rocket launcher if you want. But yeah, you'll probably be just using kind of the same kinds of weapons. So we talked about the weapons. So let's talk about the stealth system. So you can play this in an action-oriented kind of way. So you can go guns blazing and charging into firefights, or you can play it stealthy, and you get that those 2 bars on the bottom left, and that tells you the alert level of the enemies. But I gotta say, playing this stealthy is a complete waste of time. The main problem is that it is too hard to do it, and there aren't a lot of rewards for doing it. So because of that, I never do it. and I would be surprised if anyone bothered to do it. The problem is, like, you get detected so easily. You get detected, you know, even if you take your time and you're very cautious, um, they still find you. And the way you're supposed to stealth is you're supposed to crouch like this, and you can see how slowly you move. So since you move so slowly like this, and since these levels are so big, you don't want to do it because it takes too long. Or alternatively, you lay down flat like this and you move even slower. I'm not playing the game like that. There's just no point. So since it's so much slower and so much harder, I think stealth is just garbage in this game, and I wouldn't bother using it. Also, the other thing that makes the stealth pointless is the checkpoint system. Now, the checkpoint system is a little weird, and I have mixed feelings about it. You can't autosave in this game at all. There's no manual saving. It only autosaves, and the autosaving is sporadic. Sometimes it'll save often enough, but other times the quick saves, or I should say the autosaves, are, you know, it'll take too long for the next save to come up. You know, it's inconsistent. And the reason why that makes the stealth worse is because you might stealth and take a long time just to do one thing and then make a mistake and die, and then you have to do it all over again because there's no quick saving. So that's another reason never to use stealth. With that said, though, I actually don't have a huge problem with the autosave system and the lack of manual saving. It does add to the challenge. Um, it just could have been better. So I'm not saying like we should have had manual saving. I'm saying the autosaves should have been more frequent. Um, so the human enemies are actually pretty cool. You know, the AI is really intelligent. They use advanced tactics. They'll run away. They'll try to flank you. And I like how their bodies react when you shoot them. You know, you can see it right there. Ragdolls for these guys is great. It's very satisfying to shoot them. And their models are okay. What's crappy are the mutants. The mutants are awful. For one thing, they're dumb. All the intelligent AI is gone. They just, you know, do stupid stuff, run directly at you, and that's it. And they're bullet sponges, so it's not satisfying to shoot them at all. Even using rockets, the rocket launcher is pretty weak in this game, and it takes like so many rockets to actually kill a mutant. So yeah, they're just crappy enemies. So going back to the graphics and the environments are great. The graphics on the models is pretty awful. You can kind of see it here. The humans look okay for 2004, but they were better character models in other games. The mutants are just terrible. Like, they look comical. Um, I'm not sure how to describe them other than to say that they're just really, really stupid looking and bad. So the story is just kind of whatever. Like, it's nothing special. And it has terrible voice acting, but actually I didn't mind the terrible voice acting too much because it's one of those things that's so bad it's good, and I can give it a pass because, um, you know, it's an early game, early 2000, well, mid 2000s game, so bad voice acting was pretty much par for the course back then. It wasn't until much later that we got good voice acting in games. You know, there were a few exceptions like Metal Gear Solid, but like I said, that's just the exception. So yeah, story is whatever. Um, I like the level progression. I never got stuck in this game. So like I said, you know, you see the objective on the map and you just head towards it. And that's it. I never got stuck. It's not obtuse, and that's great. The one thing I really hate in any game is when it becomes obtuse, and it's not even like about puzzle solving or anything like that. It's just a artificial way to pad out the game to make it longer than it actually is. And FPS games would do that a lot. Let's see. Hey, J Marion and Forsaken. Let's see. Just doing my review. Sorry. Let's see. Let's see. What else do we want to talk about here? So, I think, that's pretty much everything. Like, there's other, like, small issues. Sometimes you can't shoot through vegetation, and that's really stupid, because, you're in a forest or in the jungle. You want to be able to shoot through, uh, vegetation, but sometimes the clipping is bad, and your bullets will just bounce off of leaves and things like that instead of killing the enemy that's off in the distance. So that happens sometimes. The foliage in the vegetation won't bend around you when you move through it like it does in some other games. You might say, well, this is an early game. There weren't a lot of games that had that. But Hitman 1 did have that, and that game came out before this. But like I said, it is an early game, so I can forgive it for that. But it's still something worth pointing out. Other than that, I think it's a solid game. Like, this is not like the greatest FPS game of all time. And I think most people today probably would find this game boring, and there are so many better FPS games out now. There's just been so much development in this genre. But for me, I think it holds up okay. And
Follow me, Jack.
like, if you want to see how the Far Cry series started, it's not a bad game to go back to and check out. I think it's great. And one of the few games from the mid-2000s, one of the few FPS games from the mid-2000s that I think still holds up. And that's all I gotta say. Alright. Hey, Forsaken. Sorry I couldn't give you a proper greeting. I was in the middle of my review. Hello, J Marion. Hold on. Let me turn up the volume of this thing. How you doing? How's everyone doing? Yeah, I was thinking about mentioning the shadow effect from the ceiling, but I think I covered that by generally talking about the graphics. Where is the health?
Move it. Hurry up.
Where's the health? Yeah, we'll play the other Far Cry games eventually.
Careful, Jack.
I'm sorry, Forsaken. When you're in the middle of a review, you gotta, because, my mind is focused on the review. If I get distracted, then it's hard to regain my train of thought. You know what I'm saying? When you lose your train of thought, everything goes, and then it takes like another 10 minutes to regain that train of thought again. It's like, what was I talking about? Was I talking about the What the fuck happened there? That was weird.
Move it.
You feeling me? That's good. So what's new with you, Forsaken? You playing any games these days? Any game playing? Or are you, going cold turkey with the game playing? I want to find that health pack. There was like a health... There's some health around here, but I don't know where... Well, whatever. Somehow we made some progress even during the review. I wasn't planning on doing that. So what'd you think of the review, Dragoon? Was it okay? I mean, this time I managed to organize my thoughts a little bit. We gotta do that more often. Otherwise, I'm like umming and hmming too often. Resident Evil 2 remake. Put 70 hours into it. Wow. I beat Resident Evil 7 recently, so I'm also in a Resident Evil kick. Haven't played Resident Evil 2 remake yet, though. I played the original Resident Evil 2, but of course the remake is very different. You ever play Resident Evil 7? Like the review, Dragoon? Was it up to your high standards? Keep dying here. That's the one thing I forgot to mention. I should have talked a little bit more about the challenge of this game, but it's alright. We talked a lot. It was a pretty long review. Much longer than I thought it would be. It happens. Yeah, I played Resident Evil 7 recently. I thought it was great. Gameplay-wise, not... Yeah, I'm asking you if you played RE7. You played it? Oh, cool. RE7 was a great game. Gameplay-wise, not as action-focused as the other games, the recent ones, but still a great game. What do you think is better, Resident Evil 2 Remake or Resident Evil 7? Keep dying.
What's going on over there?
Move it.
Really?
Hurry up.
It's much better. In that case, it's probably gonna get, Oh, you know what? Let me, hold on 1 second. Let me bring up the chat. If I can. Can we bring up the chat here? Yeah, there we go. Got the chat there for you. Yeah, I figured. The third person, like the first person style makes the game scarier and far more immersive, but gameplay wise, the third person perspective is better. We gotta be honest about that. But I really like Resident Evil 7. I thought it was great. Let's nade 'em. Grenade 'em. Get the OICW.
Here's the drill. After I find out how to open the gate, we need to get inside and locate the nuke.
Don't remind me.
That's not all. I need you to enter their headquarters and find the arming device. There's no time, so we need to split up, and you need to stop bitching. Got it?
This guy was never bitching. Alright. Gotta head out this way. Not this way.
Damn, it's locked.
Don't worry. That's what I'm here for. It should be unlocked
You
now.
see that?
Let's throw some grenades in there. RE7 was creepy, delivered on atmosphere. After a few playthroughs it got dull. Didn't like Ethan. Thought the molded got annoying. Ah, shit. There we go. Yeah, I can see that argument where the enemies kind of were a little. There weren't enough enemies, enough different kinds of enemies. Should have been more enemy variety. Yeah, I figured RE2 is the better from a gameplay, better game from a gameplay point of view. So would you say
Found them.
Resident Evil 2 is your favorite Resident Evil game now? The remake? I'll play Resident Evil 2 one of these days. What the fuck? I was adjusting myself. I still want to beat Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2. I don't know if you consider those part of the main Resident Evil games. They're canon, I think. In any case, they're in the Resident Evil 4 style, so I definitely want to play them. It's your favorite? Oh, 3 is your favorite? Really? Did you know that Resident Evil 3 was my first Resident Evil game that I ever played? But I didn't like it because honestly, Resident Evil 3 is not a good game to start the Resident Evil series off with. Not that it's a bad game, but like you needed to have played the other Resident Evil games to really appreciate it. Hey, look, sexy woman. Look at that sexy woman. Yeah. So I played it, didn't really like it that much, so I gave up on it. Then I played Resident Evil for the GameCube, and I loved that, which is, everyone calls it remake. That was what made me a Resident Evil fan. Remake. And then after that, I played through all the others. Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 4, then I played 2, and then 3. When I went back to 3, then I started liking it. Yeah, I didn't really like Resident Evil 2 that much. Just because it was so dated by the time I got around to it. Oh yeah, I did play Code Veronica eventually. That also kind of the same issue I had with that. But in a way, like, Code Veronica was even worse though because the graphics were so bad. Like, it was all 3D, but like by getting rid of the pre-rendered backgrounds and stuff, it made the game look so much uglier without adding to the gameplay, you know? Like, it still had tank controls, so I don't know what the point was. Like, if you're gonna make it give us full control, full analog control, then yeah, make the whole thing 3D. But if you're not gonna do that, then don't bother. I don't have the key card? Oh, I gotta get it over here. Resident Evil 6, I like it. I really love Resident Evil 6, actually. Like, I don't know why people bash it so much, because gameplay-wise, it's really solid. It's just not scary, but, like, honestly, like, I don't think every single Resident Evil game needs to be scary. That's just me. And the Leon portion, like, that can be a little scary, I guess, to some people. But what I was really impressed with was the gameplay. The gunplay is so good. I think of it more as a third-person shooter than anything else. Yeah, like some people didn't consider it. I don't know, where's this key card? It's saying it's over there. Some people didn't like it because they didn't consider it a Resident Evil game, but I think I think it's a Resident Evil game, it's just not scary, that's all. You know what I'm saying? Alright, that's it. Let's use the machine gun. What is this weapon? Oh, that thing? I hate that weapon. Like basically I thought Resident Evil 6 was kind of the refinement of Resident Evil 5. Like Resident Evil 6 is what Resident Evil 5 should have been. Oh, wait a minute. This is not where we're supposed to be. You know, because Resident Evil 5 was also going in a more action direction, but you couldn't move and shoot at the same time still. So that was a mistake. And then Resident Evil 6 fixed that and added even more features to make it more action-oriented, which helped the game from a gameplay perspective. And I liked the co-op too. That was fun. I played co-op with some broskies. Whoops. Alright, where is this key card? I am so stupefied. Yeah, it should have allowed, you know, movement and shooting at the same time. Especially, at least at that point. Like Resident Evil 4, I didn't mind it there at all because it was still a survival horror game. But in Resident Evil 5, obviously it went in a more action-oriented direction, so it should have rectified that issue. Alright, I am not seeing keycard anywhere. Oh, there it is, finally. Now we got the save point. What'd you think about Resident Evil 0? Resident Evil 0 to me was like, you know, more of the same when it came to Resident Evil, when it came to Remake. So if you love Remake, you will like RE0. It's not as good as Remake, but it's still good. Remake is so good. We gotta stream that game one day. I always want to stream it, but we never get around to streaming it. We did stream Resident Evil 4 once, and we'll stream it again. Okay, I'm about to die. I'm about to die, dudes. Oh, you didn't? But it's part of the main series, though. What the fuck? Where did he come from? Yeah, I consider Zero part of the main series, and also Revelations 1 and 2. I haven't played those yet, though. Don't know if you're familiar with those games. Was it less or more bad than that James Bond game? What are you talking about, Dragoon?
You hear that? You see?
Oh, for fuck's sake. All of the Resident Evil games are better than that James Bond game. That James Bond game sucks. Yeah, that's right. 3 happened, from what I heard, it happens during part of 2, but actually then goes beyond 2 during, like, the second half, but I'm not sure. That's just what I heard. Resident Evil 4 is still an amazing game, and it's genre-defining. Resident Evil 4 created the modern TPS game. TPS games existed before RE4, but RE4 established all of the main tropes that persist to this day in the genre. Silent Hill, I only played Silent Hill Shattered Memories, and I liked it. I played that a long time ago, though. It's been a long time. I haven't played any others. That one is a series that kind of died, though. So, rip Silent Hill. I always wanted to try Silent Hill 3 because it looked pretty interesting.
Did you see something?
Man, that lens flare is killing me. Downpour? Never played, I don't think I've heard of that game.
What was that? Did you hear that? Did you see that?
How is he still alive? I've been shooting the fuck out of him. Ugh. The movies, I never saw any of the Silent Hill movies. I never saw any of the Resident Evil movies. They all looked so stupid. Not interested in those things. Okay, I'm getting my ass kicked a lot.
Did you see something?
How many shots does it take to kill him? It's because these guys have body armor, see, that's the thing. But I'm shooting them in the fucking head. Really? See, I don't know what I should play next. Should I play Resident Evil Revelations 1 next, or should I play Borderlands 2 next? Or maybe I should play a completely different game. I can't decide. I've encountered a conundrum. I'm leaning towards Borderlands 2. Just to be completely honest with you guys. Really? Well, I never saw them. All I can say is that, like, they didn't appeal to me. But I can't speak on their quality. Because I never saw them. But it's a video game movie. I mean, how good can it be? You know what I'm saying?
What now?
Get your butt back to the security building. On the double. I'm almost done here.
On the double. Let's see, anything else we need to get? I think this is good. So you've been playing Resident Evil 2. I don't think I saw you on the Switch lately. Whoa. Ugh. I've been playing a little bit on the Switch, a little bit. Just a little bit. Played a little Mario Kart. I've been playing Splatoon a little bit with Owly. We played last Thursday. Jeez, I keep dying.
You see something? What was that?
No grenades. Great. And been playing some Tetris 100. I'm pretty good at Tetris. Link's Awakening, yeah. Yeah, that looks great. Can't wait. Did you stop by my stream of Link's Awakening? I streamed it sometime last year. Don't know if you were around when I streamed it. I'm so glad I beat the Zelda-thon. Beat every single Zelda game. And and I played like all the Game Boy Color, Zelda games.
I've got the arming device. What now?
Don't recall.
Your butt back to the security building. On the double. I'm almost done here.
I see. Ah. How is he still alive? We played a lot of Sonic games. It wasn't really an official Sonic-thon. I'm never gonna do a official Sonic-thon because there are too many really bad Sonic games, and I don't want to play through them all. But I did beat Sonic Lost World, and I was pleased about that. It's not the worst Sonic game I've ever played, but it's not great either. But we'll play some more Sonic games one day. I love Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog. There's that new Sonic movie coming out. It looks so stupid, but we only saw the poster so far, and he looks weird. He looks so weird. Oh boy, there's dudes. There's dudes. Where are they? Okay, we gotta go inside this building.
Follow me, Jack.
Where are we going?
You'll see.
Give me a save point. I got Monster Hunter World recently. I played that a little bit yesterday with Neil.
Hang on. This lock is still activated. Okay, that's it.
He's a big Monster Hunter fan, so
This is the outpost, Jack. The nuke is in here somewhere.
he's been
You go
playing
first.
that with me a little bit. You ever play Monster Hunter Forsaken?
Over
There we go. Look at these guys.
They're good.
Didn't like it, really? It was on sale for like 30 bucks. 32 bucks. I decided to get it. Oh boy. Still pretty early for me. I only played it for like 2 hours. Hopefully I'll get totally into it. I'm sure it's more fun if you play it with broskies. How do I get through this fence? Okay. We need health. Did you buy Monster Hunter World
I thought I heard something.
for like 60 bucks? That would have been really unfortunate if you paid full price for it and you didn't like it. Okay, good. Health. I needed that. I hate it when that happens. You pay full price for a game and then turns out you don't like it. That's happened to me before.
Damn it, they're good.
I bought this game, Disgaea, which a lot of people like. I got it for 50 bucks, and I just couldn't get into it. Bret Hart. Yeah, I don't know much about WWE. I've never been into wrestling.
Damn it, they're good.
Like, I could never get over the fact that it's fake, you know? I know, like, people love it. They like wrestling. And, like, my reaction was always been, like, it's not real, though. But, you know, if you like it, you know, more power to you. Actually, Churtka, he's a fan of WWE. You know, I think like wrestling is kind of like Godzilla movies. You know, like fans of Godzilla, like the old Godzilla movies, the guy in a rubber suit. Yeah, and you know, as long as you're having fun, then that's great. You know, like the Godzilla movies, it's a guy in a rubber suit, and like it just looks terrible. But like the Godzilla fans, they actually prefer that over CGI, and I'll never understand that. I just will never get that. Like, I'm one of the few people in the whole world that actually likes the TriStar Godzilla. I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought there should have been more. I would have loved if there were more, but like all the Godzilla fans were like, "No, we like the guys in the rubber suits. That's what we want. We want a guy in a rubber suit." They kept on comparing it to a dinosaur, like a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it's like, yeah, like his movement looks more realistic.
Come over here. I think I found
Now
something.
that's what I call service. I'll drive.
But, you know,
My pleasure.
since they don't like it, that means we never got a sequel.
Be careful.
There was a cartoon for it though, which was actually okay.
Of course they are.
We'll take care of it, Doyle. Talk to you when we get there.
I don't know what you're talking about, Dragoon. But yeah. Alright, so we're on the second level. Final Wars,
Your
yeah.
way inside the compound is about as clear as it's going to get.
Yeah, I saw Final
Oh,
Wars.
and one more thing. When that nuke detonates, it could cause all sorts of strange things to happen. What I'm trying to say is that you might be in danger of being affected by the mutagen. You might want to take some precautions.
Precautions, like not blowing up a nuclear weapon while I'm standing right next to it?
I'm dead serious. You should be able to find a serum used as an inoculation in the compound. They usually keep a good supply there.
Let's prep the nuke, and then we can go grab the serum.
What is this? A bad spy movie? You two are gonna get us all killed.
Yeah, I saw Final Wars. Final Wars is really good. I also saw the first like Japanese Godzilla movie I watched was Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, All Out Attack, and that was actually a pretty good movie.
We finish this, and then we get the hell out of here.
Val should protect the bomb jack while you clear out the area and call the elevator.
Let me think. Oh yeah, there's a new Godzilla movie coming out, and that's gonna be the new American-made Godzilla. But that one, like, the original American-made Godzilla, the first one, that one was just okay. Like, it was kind of boring. There was a little bit too much talking and not enough action. And you need action in a Godzilla movie. You need
Careful,
more
Jack.
fighting.
Over there!
And like a lot of Godzilla fans, when they watched that, they were like, you know what? It turned out the TriStar Godzilla was better after all. Like there were some people who actually said that. And yeah, guess what? It is better. Yeah, I mean like that was a funny scene, but like I said, I like that Godzilla. See, like, people don't like him because he's not, like, invincible. But I like how he's fast and stealthy. See, that's the thing. Like, the TriStar Godzilla was fast. And he was agile. Ah, ran out of ammo. And also, like, people say, like, he's weak, but he has great fecundity, as they say. That's where his strength comes from, his fecundity. So he can lay like a bajillion eggs. And then, like, if all those eggs hatched, they would be thousands of Godzillas, each one with the same power as him, and maybe even more powerful. And then, like, if each of those lay eggs, then you'd get millions and then billions of Godzillas. So that's where their strength comes from. It's not because one of them is invincible, it's because all of them combined are impossible to handle. See, but these Godzilla fans, they don't think about those things. And there was so much action. You thought Matthew Broderick was good in it? You know, like, I actually don't like any of the characters in that movie. Like, I liked Godzilla. Godzilla was the star of the show for me. Um, and I thought he was great. And I loved how, like, the small Godzillas, the baby Godzillas were like raptors, and like people complained about that too. They were like, "Oh, this is no Jurassic Park," and it's like everything they want to complain about. And I'm telling you, it's a good
Valkyrie got
movie.
it. It will just take a few seconds for her to get there.
And I liked the special effects. They were good. You know, Godzilla looked great. I liked his new look. I liked his, like, iguana look. Where's Valerie? Where is she? Oh, there she is. You know what movie I liked? I liked Kong Skull Island.
Let's go down.
I actually like Kong Skull Island better than um the the what was it, 2014? I think it was 2014 Godzilla. Yeah, I think 98 Godzilla is my favorite. Well, just between the new Godzilla and the old Godzilla.
You must find a way to open it to make Val pass this section.
But the new one, the new movie looks great. So maybe the new one will be better. We need to kill dudes. Clifford the Big Red Dog. I remember those books. He is a kaiju. Oh man. I'm looking forward to King Kong versus Godzilla. They made a whole new King Kong just for that movie, just so they can fight each other. Because the original King Kong, he's too small, and he's killed by bullets, which is too weak. He's way too weak. He would be killed so easily by Godzilla. But they made Kong Skull Island, and they made the new Kong more of a badass, much more powerful, much bigger. And he's less of a pussy. Like, the original King Kong was too much of a pussy. You know, falling in love with some blonde woman, like, what the fuck? And then killed by World War I airplanes. Okay. That's stupid. Yeah, I liked how big he was. He was really big. And also, the director said he was influenced by Evangelion, and like some of the shots in that movie are identical to shots from the anime Evangelion. If you ever watch that anime, you'll see what I mean. You know, the sense of scale and the size of Godzilla, and then they used similar compositions in Evangelion to again portray that sense of scale and that massive size. So it was really cool how he was influenced by Evangelion. Look at these D-bags all over the place. Oh yeah, it's great. The last rebuild of Evangelion movie still is not out yet, though, and we've been waiting like a decade for it. It's kind of ridiculous. I hear it's gonna come out next year, though, so let's hope. Yeah, it's weird how, like, King Kong is in love with a human, a blonde human. His dick would be bigger than the girl, so that's not gonna happen. Yeah, far too massive. Like, that's how's it? She would drown in his cum alone. Let's be honest.
You see something? There he is.
Look at all these evil scientists. Whoops. It's too many dudes. Well, King Kong from Kong Skull Island is not a gorilla. He's more of a he's more like a Gigantopithecus. Yeah, they made him more humanoid, more like his stature from the first movie. Whereas King Kong 2005, the Peter Jackson King Kong, he was more like a gigantic gorilla. And it was a cool looking King Kong, but it actually wasn't how King Kong was supposed to be. I like the new design of King Kong. I like the more Gigantopithecus look to him. See, a Gigantopithecus, if you don't know what a Gigantopithecus is, it's an extinct primate. It was the largest primate to ever exist. It actually had more in common with orangutans than gorillas. And it was huge. It was so fucking big. And actually, they did coexist with early man. So,
You want more of this? I got more of this.
no one really knows what happened to them. Maybe early man hunted them to extinction. Those fucking assholes.
Did you hear that? You see that? Get him!
Titan boa? I heard of that. Isn't that an extinct animal? You a fan of snakes, Forsaken? You a snake kind of guy?
We've got company. We've got someone right on our tail.
You're dead, buddy. Suck this.
Maybe we should just kind of chill here, wait for these guys to come, but they're not gonna come. They're too smart for that. We'll have to go up this way.
Don't move. Bite my ass.
Yeah, I kind of figured you're a snake kind of guy.
Careful, Jack.
You ever owned any snakes?
Did you see something?
Ever own any pet snakes? My neighbor, he had a pet snake for a little while. They're fun to play with. Never owned a snake. Snakes? I don't know. I don't even know what happened to it. this guy ran up to me. Actually, doing okay on health. What's your favorite kind of snake, Forsaken? I like the anaconda snake. Gonna go for the big one. I like those big ass snakes. Let's see if there's anyone alive here. Okay, I think we got them all. King Cobra. That used to be my favorite snake. They live in India. I think they're in Sri Lanka as well. I mean, there are cobras in Sri Lanka, but I don't know if it's the king cobra. Gaboon viper? Never heard of that one. Heard of vipers. Never the gaboon viper. Shit. Where? There's too many of them. Horn-eyed snout? Okay. Didn't know there was a snake with a horn-eyed snout. In Dark Souls, there's lots of big-ass snakes. Actually, Bloodborne has a level with, like, there's like snake pits all over the place, and there's these giant snake pits. And then there's dudes with snakes growing out of their heads. We can backtrack a little bit and get some good stuff.
Well done, Jack. You're almost there.
Okay, before we go there though, there's some health I want to get. As a horn-eyed snout, largest of all the vipers. Highest concentration of venom among all snakes. Oh, okay. I thought sea snakes had the most deadly venom out of all snakes. Okay, there's some health over here.
Okay, one gate is left. You need to open the gate to the mutagen chamber.
Okay, good. We got a save point.
You see something? Get him!
Careful, Jack.
I'm gonna lay the smack down on
Get him.
Longest fangs up to 2 inches. There's some big ass fangs. Yeah, they're fascinating creatures. Snakes. If I was sleeping and a snake slid up my pant leg, it would scare the fuck out of me. That'd be so nasty. Where do I go? Oh, there she is. What's she doing? She's like plowing this dude.
Follow me, Jack. We need to find the serum.
What is this place?
I never had access rights to that facility. From what I've been able to determine from the uplink, this is where Krieger's third stage experiments were conducted. From what I've heard, Krieger was in such a hurry that he started taking all sorts of live specimens and infusing them with the Trigen serum. They were also supposed to be creating Trigens from zygotes.
Okay.
Doyle, we're inside the lab.
Okay. Antidote time. Look for a red case with a biohazard symbol.
What?
I don't like shots.
I'm sure you'll make a lovely mutant.
Inject the serum into your neck.
I've had
An
worse.
oddly intimate way of shooting each other up.
Val, arm the bomb now. Jack, you must protect her with your life. She won't be able to defend herself.
All right. Cover me while I arm the device.
Let's nuke all the mercenaries.
We've got visitors. Lots of them.
Yeah. CGI is weird. Like, it's not even like CGI, it's using in-game graphics. But with that, like, CGI filter on it.
We've got someone right on our tail.
Let's throw some grenades. I like those physics. Look at those ragdolls. What is she doing? Okay, she's arming it. I like those apples. She got shot in the head when she was climbing down? Maybe. As long as she's not dead, though. That's all we care about. Shoot him down. Is she done yet? Come on.
It's getting thick out here, Val. You better step on it.
Too many D-bags. So much body armor.
That's it. The detonator is set.
Now get the hell out of here.
Gonna get going? Okay, no problem. We're probably gonna close up pretty soon. Pretty close to the end of this level. Thank you for stopping by. Have a good night. These are doctors. Do we go this way? Where do we go? Hope we're almost out. There it is.
Jack, take a look into the future. Nature has failed mankind. Mere humans like you are about to be obsolete. I've only taken a few thousand years of evolution and put it into a test tube. Survival of the fittest. Good luck. Thanks.
How can he survive that fall? That would have broken every bone in his body and like ruptured internal organs. What's going on? Alright. That is a good place to stop for now. So there's only 2 more levels yet left. So I think it'll just take one more stream to beat this game. Okay, so that is it for tonight. Really glad we were able to make some progress today. And I'm really glad that we're gonna finally beat this game. I've been, it's one of those games that's always been in my backlog that I always wanted to play and beat, but never got around to it. But really glad that we finally made some time for it. And we will beat it in one more stream, and then we'll move on to something else. Probably gonna go back to streaming some indie games or some retro games. I'm in a retro kind of mood, indie kind of mood, and there's so many great indie games out there, so it'll be something like that. We'll see. We also still need to beat Electronic Super Joy, but we can do other things too. You know, we can mix it up. So, that's it for tonight. I want to thank everyone for streaming with me. Thank you so much. Thank you, Forsaken. Thank you, Dragoon. Tomorrow, we may or may not be streaming. I might be busy tomorrow, but we'll see. So, have a good night. Bye.